Awesome. All right. So it is our final week in Get Over Your Damn Self. Look at all Lori's post-it notes. I like it. She's like, quick reference, this.
I I went way overboard. I don't know why I did all that, but I need to go back and make sure I highlighted. I don't know. I went crazy with sticky notes this time.
I like it. I like it. All right. So we are on chapter 15. It's a family affair. It's impossible to build a business in a vacuum. You want your significant other to not only know about about and understand your business, but also be your biggest cheerleader. I want to help you involve your family in your business and traverse the landmines that can pop up. Even if you're not in a committed relationship or don't have kids, this is still important stuff to understand because you will have team members who must learn how to involve their families in their business. While I know families come in different shapes and sizes, for the rest of this chapter, I'll use husband as the catch all term for spouse, wife, serious boyfriend or girlfriend, and ball and chain. Tell them what's in it for them. Your business will affect your husband and kids in ways that will be uncomfortable, inconvenient, threatening, or annoying to them. Trust me, it's inevitable. But if they know not only why you're building your business, but also what's in it for them, it will make it easier for them to accept the new normal of you and your side business. This business is a big change for your husband, and you need to acknowledge that. No matter how busy you were before, you've added another thing to your plate, and that means less time for other things, including him. You may have to take up. This is a good chapter for Dwayne to hear. You're like, great. Just kidding. Dwayne's super supportive. All right. So he may have to take on more family and household responsibilities. He may get less attention, including less sex.
Well, the last two chapters have a few choice words, so you have to say it. We talked about this last week.
All right. So it's imperative that he not only understand why you're building your business, but also what's in it for him. If your husband has shouldered the responsibility of being the primary breadwinner and you want to bring in more money to pay for household expenses, then tell him that you're committed to taking some of the financial burden off of him to reduce his stress. If you want to build an escape from your day job, explain to him that you want to be able to leave your job so you have more joy, energy to give him and your kids. If you want to build a bigger vacation fund so because your husband loves to golf, explain to him that you want to be able to afford more luxurious vacations that will include time on the golf course for him. You get the idea. Remember, that what's in it for him must be something he actually wants. Just because you have stories of wives retiring their husbands, don't assume your man wants to be retired from his career unless he told you so. If your husband loves what he does, he may actually resent you lumping him in that category. Instead, find reasons that he'll really like. When he understands the benefits of your business can provide for everyone, it is more likely to make for positive and productive discussions. Like the weekly traffic meetings, I suggest the two of you hold in chapter 13 and talking about and hiring the help you need to better leverage your time, covered in the last chapter. It will also make a no-brainer for him to share with his friends how your business is helping or going to help eliminate some of his pain and how it could do that for them too if their wives got involved. No matter what age your kids are, toddler or teenager, they'll be affected by your business. They may have to get used to not being at their beck and call or having to shut their pie holes while you're on the phone. I hate that term pie hole. I've never liked it. There's something just turns me off. People say that. I'm like, ugh, pie hole. Ugh. Anyways. Let's see here. Or even missing their 10th birthday because your company national conference. Nate still brings that one up when he wants to guild us big time. Help them understand what's in it for them so they'll be more helpful, accommodating, and flexible. The younger your kids are, the more immediate gratification the what's in it for them will provide. If you're trying to work your way out of your day job, what's in it for them could be, I want to really work really hard to build my business big enough so I don't have to go to my other job that makes mommy crabby and not as much fun to be with. Would you like it if I was happier and laughed more? What kid would say no to that? As your kids get older, what's in it for them might be further in the future. If you want to fill their college funds, explain that you're building this business so you have more choices about where they can go. When I started my business and Nate was a preschooler, I explained that I had to go to work on my other business while he played quietly so that we could see each other and hug each other whenever we wanted instead of me going away to an office every day. As they got involved in sports and other activities, I proclaimed their love for their martial arts or dance classes. I'd use every opportunity to remind them that I was working hard at my business to pay for their activities. When I wasn't around to put the kids to bed every night because of events, or when I travel or go to other markets, I would talk to the kids about their family goals and how I was working to make them happen. Nate and BB were both born with wanderlust. So using vacation goals with them throughout the years has worked like a charm. We've also come up with a family wise throughout the years using a family goal board. You may already be coached to do personal goal boards with a collage of pictures that declare what you're building towards. This is a powerful exercise to do alone and with your teams, especially if your goal board is in a highly visible place. It's also a powerful exercise to do as a family. It teaches your kids a valuable practice that they can use throughout their lives, and having a vision goal board to work towards making it easier for everyone to make the adjustments and sacrifices required. Recruit your husband. I'm not suggesting you bring your husband into the business as a builder, although that may happen. I'm talking about making sure your guy has the basic understanding of your enterprise and involving him in the parts of your business that affect him. That's why the first three-way call you do with your sponsor, even before your dirt list calls, is one with your husband. You want him to be your biggest cheerleader, to use the products or services you now represent to be a source of referrals for you. This call is a valuable opportunity to make sure your husband understands the business, addresses any concerns he has that weren't addressed while you were considering the business, and educate him on how helpful it will be if he helps you add to your prospect list over the next several weeks with people he knows. I also encourage you to share information that you find exciting and compelling, not just when you first start your business, but throughout your career. Ask your hubby if it's okay if you share about your challenges, explaining that you're not asking him to fix anything, which is honestly, that is just a spouse's, a significant other's knee jerk reaction. Anybody who loves you, it's their knee jerk reaction to try and fix your problem. And so that has been a problem for us always. And so I'm always like, I'm not asking you to fix it. I just need you to listen. But then there are times I am asking him, I'm like, I am asking for advice here on how to fix this problem. Can you help me? And I'm very clear about that, because we used to butt heads on that all the time. And so I was already stressed about whatever the issue was. And then that caused, yes, Diane, in the beginning of this chapter, she expressed spouses, everybody is covered under the word husband, spouses, significant others, all that stuff. But in this, for simplest terms, she just used the word husband. But yeah, and so it's important to kind of communicate that, because it just brings that level of tension down when you communicate that. Also ask him if he'd like to hear about your team's big and little victories. It will help him be a part of your business and your vision. Another important part of recruiting your husband is establishing routine meetings to talk about schedules, juggling, and how we can help each other do all the things we need to do. Remember, in the short run, your new business may add more to your husband's plate than he may feel comfortable with. These monthly business meetings, and I encourage you both to think of them as business meetings, may be really different for your marriage, but they are essential. Since life changes and kids' schedules and day job demands are in flux, your monthly meetings may have to accommodate the fluid nature of your lives. Each of you should come to these meetings with your schedules and have a candid conversation about what you can juggle to help each other. This meeting should not cover only weekly ins and outs of running your family, but also brainstorming about a bigger picture of strategies on how to free up more time for both of you. For example, in one of these meetings, you may decide you're willing to trade fancier date nights with a babysitter for stay-at-home movie nights with takeout while the kids are playing at the neighbors. And that will allow you to afford a cleaning lady twice a month to free you both up from a lot of household work. These meetings must happen when you can be uninterrupted by kids, phones, and other distractions. And they must be sacred, meaning you don't cancel them. They have to happen. Plus, if you have them while you're out to dinner, guess what? You're talking business, so it counts as a tax deduction. Blah, blah, blah. All right, she's not a CPA, so you need to talk to your tax advisor. In addition to, it's sad that she has to say that. It's the reason I don't give tax advice. All right, so in addition to monthly meetings, weekly 10 to 15-minute traffic meetings will help you get your ducks in a row for the week. This helps to reduce surprises and frustration that can come from not understanding each other's schedule or forgetting commitments. John and I have been doing our monthly business meetings and weekly traffic meetings for years. In addition to helping me grow faster and making our lives and family run smoothly, they've led to a very important side benefit of our marriage. Even though this may be your business and your husband has his profession, working together like this to juggle it all brings you closer and makes each of you feel a bigger part of each other's lives. Even though John wasn't out there prospecting for me or leading trainings for the first 4 years of my business, he knows my successes were his successes too. Because he saw, and I consistently reminded him that he had a big impact on what I was building. Leverage your husband's network. Like you, your husband has a network. People are in his network that could end up being your business partner, customer, or connect to a business builder. Your guy is sitting on a potential gold mine, and he needs to understand that. The more he taps into his network, the faster you can grow. While John was incredibly helpful in my business in other ways, he didn't tap into his network for the first few years. Now he readily admits that was a big mistake, kicking himself for not reaching out right away to help us grow even faster. Ask your husband to sit down and make a list of people he knows who are influential, successful, know lots of people, have magnetic personalities, are between jobs or have wives. Just like you, your husband can prejudge how he thinks they will or won't fit into your business. Like you, once he gets in the habit of thinking of people, he'll start thinking of others even at the most random times. So encourage him to capture those names in his phone or little notebook to add to his list. Get in the habit of asking your husband to spend 15 minutes adding to his list. Pour him a glass of wine or beer and give him some space to comb through his memory, Facebook friends, yearbooks, and phone. Once he has a list, and then the two of you need to figure out the best way to reach out to these people. There's no one size fits all way to do this. A lot of it depends on your husband's relationship with the contact. In frequent short meetings, John and I tack on an additional 5 to 10 minutes to every traffic meeting. Talk about these people on his list, working in groups of 10 and 20 at a time. There are people that your husband will likely feel more comfortable simply handing you the contact info. When you reach out to that person, you'd kick off the conversation by saying, for example, John suggests I get in touch with you to pick your brain about my business since you're so well connected in Boston. There are other ways. There are others who may need a quick warm up before the handoff, like a phone call or email from your husband that sounds something like, my wife's business is expanding to Seattle, and I told her I thought you'd be a great resource since you're so well networked out there. I'd love to connect the two of you so she can tell you what she's looking for. Can I give her your phone number? When's the best time of day for her to reach you? Or maybe the wife is one of your husband's contacts, should hear about your new business. Your husband can call or email them saying, Jack, my wife's business is really cooking. She just paid our mortgage and she's covering all the kids' activities. She's paying for the family vacay this year, and I think Judy should take a look. Who knows? She might want to make some serious money and have a lot of fun doing it. What's the best way to get them together, phone or email? Your husband doesn't need to know more than that. If he gets questions he can't answer, he can simply say, "My wife has all the info. Let's connect you two." You may even find, like I did with John, that your husband actually has fun reaching out to people and may want to better understand how to talk about your business and about your story and your business. Many active husbands on your team got more involved this way. It's a win-win, helping them get what's in it for them faster. How to handle a not so supportive hubby. Maybe your hubby, like mine, saw that what you saw in this bit. Let me see. Hold on. Maybe your husband, like mine, saw what you saw in this business opportunity and was fully supportive of you starting your business. I'm forever grateful. When I started my business, John recognized the best way he could help me was by sharing many of the roles men in our parents' generation simply wouldn't consider. A few nights a week he cooked, we split the laundry and cleaning duties, and then when it came clear that our time was better spent working on respective businesses, and being there for our kids, we used part of my earnings to pay for weekly house cleaning. He did a couple bedtime routines solo so I could get to events or hit the phones. Even around his busy medical practice, building his own entrepreneurial venture, writing books, and trying to get sleep, he supported me in any way he could. I wish the same support for all of you. But I know from many on our team that not every husband is supportive. Maybe your guy is even taking every possible chance to be, shall we say, less than supportive. I can't pretend to understand what that feels like or how tough it must be to do the heavy lifting this business requires and not have your most important partner in your corner. I'd like to be able to guarantee that he'll come around, but I can't. Just know that many husbands do come around. Our dear friend and business partner, Jamie Peterson, didn't have her husband Brett's full support when she started. Brett didn't see this as a serious business. A hardworking financial advisor, he would get annoyed when he'd come home from a long day at work and Jamie would need to go out for a business event, leaving him with their two young kids. At first, he wasn't happy with the place of growth given Jamie's time investment. With the pace of growth given Jamie's time investment, and didn't see what was in it for him or his family in the long run. Instead, he focused on how he was being inconvenienced. But Jamie, whose previous career was in the stock market, knew the potential and knew what he had to do to create a financial vehicle she wanted for her family. Once Brett started seeing serious money coming in and the growth trajectory, it got his attention. The formerly annoyed and inconvenienced husband became the wife's biggest cheerleader and catalyst for the husbands getting more involved in their entire team. Today, they're enjoying a seven-figure business. While Brett maintains his own career that he loves, he also teaches husbands on their team how to help their wives grow faster and does business building events. Now, he does whatever it takes to be Jamie's 50-50 partner in their entire life, which now includes three adorable, very active kids. Sometimes it takes even longer for husbands to come around. I remember comforting a sobbing business partner on an incentive trip after she had yet another anguishing phone call with her husband who was home with their toddler. Her husband complained every time she had to leave their daughter with him because of her business, and it was tearing her up. This was even after she'd already reached huge success in her business and was able to retire from her career. She didn't let it derail her from her goals and stayed committed to her vision of getting her family out of debt and leaving her job so she could be stay-at-home mom. I'm so proud that my strong friend didn't let her husband's issues derail her goals as she built what's become a seven-figure business and set up a scholarship fund. Her husband did eventually support her, embracing the opportunities. He had to build a stronger bond with his daughter and accompany his wife at big company events on luxurious incentive trips. Look, there's no guarantee that your now cynical husband will see the light, start supporting you, and jump in and help you and your business. But now that many successful business builders started out without the full support of their spouse and ended up having them completely on board, it can take money coming in for a while for your husband to really see what's in it for him and for the family. Until that time comes, stay focused on your business, surround yourself with as many positive people as possible, and fill your head with personal development every day. I need a drink real quick. My allergies are getting to me today. Throat's all dry. All right. So make your kids a part of the business. I've always tried to find ways to make the kids feel included in the business. And that begins by referring to it as our business or the family business. When the kids are really little, I would give them a toy phone and a computer so they could do their work while I did mine. This could be why some of BB's first words were eye cream and peptides. That's bizarre. um, I'd give them little jobs to help the family business, even if it wasn't all that helpful, just so they'd have more ownership of the success. This included emptying the trash can in my home office, organizing my pens, shredding paper, and anything else that was fun for them that made them feel empowered and valued. As the kids have gotten older, their contributions have become more substantial. Just like last week, Nate and BB helped me pick out our beautiful jewelry. I'll award the top performers in a coaching series I'm doing for part of our team. This business provides a priceless opportunity to teach our kids that it's possible to work hard and get what you want while also helping others get what they want. A huge part of that is introducing the kids to our team. I've always made sure they got to know the team through Facebook posts and sharing our business partners' families and successes. They not only know when I'm working hard towards a goal, but they also know when our business partners are running to earn a Lexus, a promotion, or a trip. This has led our beloved month-end dance parties where we crank up the music and bust a move with every big announcement. I've also involved the kids in team recognition, from drawings on the envelopes of cards and packages to lots of videos picking winners and incentive drawings and sending congratulations for promotions or trip earns. Because it's important to build a team culture that feels like family, it's just as important for the team to get to know Nate and BB. In fact, at 10, Nate was the youngest guest ever on our weekly team call. He showed our team what his success selling poinsettias for the YMCA could teach them about setting goals and reaching them, and how to keep our business brilliantly simple. He shared gems like why he doesn't take no personally. Why would I care? I'm not a poinsettia. I was one proud mama as the rave reviews came in from our peeps across US and Canada, crediting Nate with helping them have aha moments and big breakthroughs. Some moms even passed the call along to their Girl Scout daughters to get them ready for cookie season. Do you think it boosted Nate's self-confidence and increased the ownership he felt of our business? You bet. This business has made me a better wife and mom. It's made John a better husband. It's made our marriage stronger. And our kids are growing up in a family that celebrates goal setting, hard work, commitment, teamwork, and the success of others. Everything this profession has taught us has spilled into our parenting and into Nate and BB's evolving characters. It's one of the most unexpected and invaluable parts of this gig. I wish the same for you and your family. All right. Does anybody have anything they want to share on that chapter?
I agree with all of it. I know Joe in the beginning, he didn't mind me doing it, but to say he was supportive, I wouldn't have gone that far. But definitely once they see what can happen from it, it's amazing how much that can change. Because I even have a girl on my team that it's the same way. They see that there is an opportunity. It's not just the stuff you're getting into again that you're going to fill the house with, telling them that you're going to make money, but that it can actually happen. So it's actually pretty cool to watch the changes.
That's awesome.
And he probably talks about my Tupperware with people even more than I do. It's actually sort of cute.
That's very cute. That's wonderful. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds like, I missed the last couple of weeks because my mom had surgery the past 2 Mondays. But But yeah, and but reading those chapters, because I did read them, and them talking about, you know, the insignificance of communication within the household is huge. I mean, if you want your family to understand what's going on and to be more accepting of you being gone more, of you being preoccupied doing stuff, it's significant. Like it's significant to have that communication around it so everybody understands more. Because a lot of times when you get to the root cause of an argument, it all goes back to communication. Well, I didn't realize you were feeling that way, or I didn't realize the significance of me not doing this or doing this, you know. And so it's all about communication.
Oh, so hands down, communication in a marriage period is right. Probably one of the biggest causes of divorce, even over money and everything. Yeah. And he'll love the fact, because he's always asking me, hey, we brought up Tupperware with our friends. Can we write off this dinner? And I'm really funny about that. So I'm going to tell him, I'm like, hey, babe, if once a month we go out and have a dinner, even though we'll talk to our CPA first, but he is going to be all over that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. You just need to track it. Just put on the receipt who's at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important to especially, and if they're not on board, just by having those meetings, it sometimes kind of helps them, you know, see the bigger picture and see kind of what you're going towards. And maybe at first they'll be like, I'm not into this, and be totally annoyed, but just be persistent with it and don't write them off, you know, because they want to help you, but they also, their instinct is to protect you, right? That's why they try to fix our problems. And that's why they sometimes resist something like this, because they don't know all of your new friends, your new Tupperware people, you know what I mean? They're like, well, are they leading them astray? You know, things like that, right?
Right.
So it's important for them to get to know everybody and all that good stuff.
I did do exactly what you said, reading the book, and it sort of made me laugh, because the one day I'm like, you do realize I'm working so hard at this to take pressure off of you. So one day, if you don't, and I did say, if you don't want to work, you can step back and find something. Because in his job, he paints cars for a living, and he's 55 years old. It's rough on his body.
Right.
So I'm thinking I'm doing this amazing thing. And his first question was, oh, yeah? How you going to do that? And I'm like, I haven't got that far. I just saying that's what I want.
It's a possibility. Dream with me, man.
But when you read that, I'm like, you know what? Maybe he did take that offensive. What do you mean you don't want me to work? So that was it was good to hear that.
I've had a husband after, like, that came to a meeting and where Pam was talking about making six figures and this, that, and the other. And he flat out was like, my wife doesn't need to make six figures. I make that much. And was just kind of like, he was offended by Pam talking about his wife making six figures. And I'm just like, wow, insecure much? Yeah. I'm like,
heavens, we don't want a household with 2 six figures.
Exactly. I'm like, most households would be pretty psyched about having 2 six-figure incomes in them. Like, it was very, but he took total, like he was like, he couldn't handle it. And so therefore his wife, like, I don't know why he took so much offense to it. But, you know, again, that's just, I mean, if he doesn't know and he's kind of walking into it's already feeling skeptical. And so you just kind of never know. And that's the reason why. But, like, I mean, you never write anybody off in this business. You don't write team members off. You don't write recruits that you've been chasing off, because you never know what's going on in their lives.
Right.
And you never know when that's going to shift. And that's why just be there, and with the spouses, I've seen spouses turn on a dime both ways.
Right.
I've seen them be super supportive and then all of a sudden they're not. But that rarely happens. But mostly I see them start to see the big picture and be like, and even if in the beginning, it's not about money, it's about like, wow, my wife is happy. She's, or my friend who's so involved in this business is starting to smile more, and they're starting to, be more lighthearted because they're not just like going to work and coming home and doing all the things, it just kind of shakes up the routine. So it's a good thing for sure. All right. Are we ready for the next chapter? Lori.
Oh, I'm totally ready. I just don't, whoever's going to read for you.
The question is, are you ready, Ellen?
Yeah.
Am I ready? Well,
You should have
those-
Dwayne read it.
What?
Have Dwayne read it.
I can read it. I'm not afraid of that word. I have no issue with that word. I probably
Oh
use
my
it 3
God.
times a day.
You guys are cracking me up. Yeah, those of you that know me know that I never use a word like that.
Oh, Ellen never uses that word.
Yeah, never.
Listen, peanut gallery.
Well, it was funny.
What are you kidding me?
He, for all the days for him to be home during this chapter, I had nothing to add to that chapter because, the last chapter, not the,
Yeah.
because it doesn't apply to me, but I have learned to kind of navigate with team members who have
Absolutely.
husbands that are not
Yeah.
supportive at all, and at every curve try to throw in obstacles with travel and conventions and
All of it. And it's crazy. And I loved how she said it, because I don't have this issue either, but I love how she said, I can't begin to relate to this. However, it is important for me to know so that I can, help my people navigate it. And that's exactly how I feel too, Lori. I mean, there hasn't been a single day that one day Eric wasn't supportive. And that was because I dated a party on our anniversary accidentally, because I wasn't looking at a calendar. And I just said, oh, let's just do it next Friday. And I come downstairs and I'm like, hey, I'm doing a party next Friday. And he's like, what? And I've never seen him like, he was like, oh, next Friday? And I'm like, yeah, next Friday. I was all excited. He's like, you mean the 30th? And I was like, I can fix this. I will be right back. And I went back upstairs, moved the party, and came back. I'm like, it's done. It'll be our anniversary. But that's all he said.
And I'm not going to say that I never have gotten any pushback, because
Right.
You still celebrate those?
You're funny. Funny guy. She's like, okay.
Before COVID, we were all in person parties, so the big months, May, October, and this was back when I was working full time. So May and October, we would do all of our parties together, and I would get some looks like, when it was time to come home, I'd fly home from work and I'd be like, come on, we got to be at so-and-so's. And he'd be like,
Yeah.
But once we got there, everything was fine. And now even virtually, I'll tell him when I want him to join me on certain parties and things. And he's fine with it. Sometimes it's a little rushed, but that's really the only pushback I've ever gotten is just.
Well, and that's just, I'm tired and I don't want to do this.
I'm tired. I've been at work all day. Right.
Yeah. That's not even pushback.
Right. It's not like he sits home all day and just waits for Tupperware to do something.
We did have one moment like 3 years ago. I think we had 5 parties in a week.
Oh.
And it was just like, I come home, I'm like, oh, got to get back up and do it again. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So
what is that saying? You do now, you do now what you don't like to do, so you don't have to do it later? Or what is
Something
that?
like that. Yeah.
Something like that. You do what most people don't want to do now, so you can live the life you want later. Or
Yeah,
what?
Live now like you don't want to live, so you can live like no one else later.
Right. That's Dave
Something like
Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Dave Ramsey?
Live like no one will live now, so that you can live like no one will live later, so that you save money and whatnot. Yeah, it's a Dave Ramsey thing. Yep, absolutely. But for us, it definitely applies to work, because in the beginning, it is you're putting more out than you're getting back in, and it's just truly a leap of faith. So.
And you know what? And I do have to say, this book, when I'm and I've read some chapters, led some chapters. Reading this book to yourself, and I don't know if anyone else has this, when you read it to yourself, it kind of flows. But it's hard to read out loud, this book.
Yeah, it's definitely in her voice, and it's my sentences don't form like that. You see, I mean, I caught myself several times adding words and switching words around, but it still said the same thing, but it just came out of my mouth differently.
This is a hard book to read out loud. I've noticed that too. I don't know, it's just the way she puts sentences together. But when you read to yourself, it's because I think you can skip over some words. You just kind of,
And when I read it on my own, I get tons of notes. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's, you know, different, just following along and you can't take notes at the same time.
Yeah.
But it was crazy the notes I got.
Yeah. I highlight a lot in this book. Like this book is like so highlighted. So yeah.
I do the same thing. And if you have Audible at all, listen to this book on Audible and have her read it to you.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really, and also the next book, the Mel Robbins book, that's really good on audio because her voice, and she just has so much passion and inflection in her voice. Anytime the author reads it on Audible is just like awesome. Like it just makes it so much more enjoyable. Either that or like, you know, James Earl Jones. Somebody with a voice like that, right? Samuel Jackson. All right. Okay, so chapter 16. #fuck fear. There you go, Lori. That one's for you. All right. You can read hundreds of phenomenal books on how to build your business. And I know, and I hope by now you think this is one of them. You can listen to as many training calls as you can find every week, although by now you know why I strongly discourage that. You can be the direct business partner of the biggest superstar in your company. You can even understand all the ins and outs of the simple duplicatable business or system. Even with all of that, there is still one thing that will keep you from success: fear. This little 4-letter word can have the destructive power to, what is that word?
Annihilate.
Annihilate. Oh, I know that word. I've just never seen it written before. I was like, what? All of your intentions, all the bullshit stories you're making up in your head, fear is behind all of them. Here's the bad news. We humans have fear, and there's no way to escape it. I'll never forget when John and I watched our then 5-year-old daughter, BB, in her first dance recital. Her little confident self, along with her fellow dancers, pranced and strutted all over that stage. They didn't remember all the steps. They certainly didn't carry out flawless performances, but they danced their little hearts out with unbridled enthusiasm, with pure joy, without fear. Yes, they were very proud of the costumes they were wearing, but that really struck me is that they were naked little souls. They were how God intended them to be. See, at their age, no one has told them yet that they're not naturally talented or that they shouldn't try to dance because they'll never be one of the few that make it on Broadway. No one's told them they're not pretty enough or tall enough or thin enough or that dancing isn't a respectable endeavor. And they don't have a track record of other disappointments or failures to squash their confidence. They're just dancing to the music simply because one day they decided they wanted to dance. Flash forward a couple years, and BB's passion has advanced to the competitive troupe. The reckless abandon has already been tempered by a system that ranks and judges and winners and losers. Her rehearsals, both in the studio and in her bedroom, have a new observant self-doubt. She wonders, am I good enough? Can I do this? What if I fail? This is what happens to all of us. We experience disappointments and failures and rankings and non-supportive relationships. Life happens. We get cloaked in fear. We're covered in it. And over time, it becomes so thick and heavy that it keeps us from remembering our dreams, what we're capable of, who we're meant. Hold on a second. What do you need, babe? Okay, you have to ask now. Thank you. All right. Who we're meant to be. It gives birth to voices in our heads that become so loud that we can't hear the real us anymore. Is it any wonder that despite having all the training and tools we could possibly need, that so few actually build the business they're capable of building? It's because the fear has drowned out the why, the coaching, the dreams, and the possibilities. To prove this point, I recently asked a small accountability group of 30 business builders on our team to write down all their fears about their business, screenshot it, and post it on our group's Facebook page. Here's the list of everything they admitted. fear of not saying the right thing, fear of looking or sounding stupid, fear I'm exuding too much confidence, fear I'm not confident enough, fear of not being taken seriously, fear of what people think of me, fear of what people think of my business, fear of annoying my family and friends, fear of pestering people, fear of being that person that everyone wants to run from, fear that I don't have what it takes, fear of not having the right network, fear of exhausting my network, fear of running out of people to talk to, fear I won't meet new people, fear of keeping my funnel full, fear of keeping my funnel too full, fear of not finding the right people, fear of investing time in the wrong people, fear of rejection, fear of getting a no, fear of a no changing our relationship, fear of being judged, fear of disappointing others, fear of disappointing myself, fear of letting my kids down, fear of letting my husband down, fear of letting me down, fear of proving my critics right, fear of not proving my critics wrong, fear of stressing myself out, fear of putting too much pressure on myself, fear of not going fast enough, fear I've gone too fast and will hit a wall, fear of really applying myself and failing, fear of hitting a plateau and not moving past it, fear of not finding business partners, fear of not being able to train new business partners, fear of not growing a team, fear of not being able to lead a team, fear of not doing enough for my team, fear of not finding runners, fear of finding runners who go way faster than me, fear of not finding people who see what I see, fear of the time I've sacrificed and it not being worth it, fear of not balancing team support with growing my personal business, fear of never being able to balance my business with the rest of my life, fear of my business getting too big to balance, fear of not making enough money, fear of making a lot of money and losing it, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of my team failing, fear of not sustaining success once I get there, fear of being good but not great, fear of not being efficient enough to grow big, fear of having to choose between my current career and this company, fear of going all in and then it all gets taken away or collapses, fear of saturation, fear that my network will join someone else, fear that not being enough for everybody, fear of not being a good enough leader for my team, fear of not being good at mentoring as my mentor, fear of not being able to bring 3 ways, fear of the unknown, fear of never ever being able to retire because I was chicken shit or too tired or too distracted, fear of letting I can't win over I can. Since I'm inherently a fixer and a lawyer by training, my first inclination was to argue the fallacy of all these fears. Sure, if I could point out why each and every one of these fears can't survive an intellectual analysis, then they could move past them. Sorry, I got a notification on my computer. I don't know. I've never gotten that before. Let me get that off of there. Then they could move past them and on to unfettered IPA and great success. Also, the very least, I could point out how comical this cluster is, showing many of these fears are chicken and egg arguments. If I don't try, I can't fail, or in many cases, arguing both sides of the debate. If I could just help these team members better understand their fears, perhaps they could quiet the negative voices in their head. Maybe if they really understood the realities behind their fear, it would be easier to muster courage, and that courage might be more powerful than what's holding them back. But I can't fix their fears or anyone else's. I'm sure as hell can't argue them away. Fear isn't intellectual, pragmatic, or rational. Fear is emotional. It's a girl crush of mine. Elizabeth Gilbert, wrote in her epic book, Big Magic. Fear will always show up when we strive for great things and take risks because fear hates uncertain outcome. This is all totally natural and human. It will always show up, and she thankfully adds, it's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Courage is routinely required to build our business. Since fear will always show up when we're embarking on the unknown and about to create something new and possibly fabulous and life-changing, fear and courage are not an either or proposition. And just as Liz Gilbert, who knows this, Nelson, it's not just Liz Gilbert who knows this. Nelson Mandela agrees. He says, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave men or women is not the one who doesn't feel afraid, but who conquers the fear. In other words, the brave act in spite of fear. So here's great news about fear. It's not our job to argue with it or fix it or escape it. It's our job to act in spite of it. Yet, in order to repeatedly act in spite of fear, our desire to go after our dreams has to be more powerful than the fear that's holding us back. So that, like BB, we dance because we have to. Stephen Pressfield, author of The War of Art. I thought that book was called The Art of War. Am I wrong? There is a book called The Art of War, but I've never heard of The War of Art. But anyways, agrees that fear is actually a sign that we must do it. The more sacred we are, of course, the more sacred we are of a work or calling, the more scared. That's why I'm like, this doesn't make sense. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. He writes, the more fear we feel about a specific enterprise, the more certain we can be that enterprise is important to us and the growth of our soul. I've had fears my whole adult life. When I acted in fear and when I acted in spite of my fears, it was because my desire to grow, stretch, and dream and achieve was far greater than my fears. The fears didn't disappear. I just said, fuck fear, I'm doing this. Was it scary to leave a career that didn't fit me, a city that didn't feel right, to go find myself professionally and personally in New York without a job and a place to live? Absolutely. But I wanted so much more than my day-to-day life. I not only wanted to be a big bite out of the big apple, but I take a big bite out of the big apple, but I also wanted to devour more of my life. Was I scared to start a side business in the direct selling channel after more than 12 years of successful, respected, award-winning public relations work? You bet. Major butterflies were swirling in my gut for all the reasons this venture scares you, but my dreams of the life I really wanted were so much bigger. I have a long history of taking a deep breath, trusting my gut, and pushing through my fears to get to the really good stuff. Hashtag fuck fear. I think it's because my biggest fear of all eclipsed all the little ones. My favorite, Maya Angelou, quote, sums it up perfectly. There's no greater agony than burying an untold story inside of you. What scares me more than anything is not living the life I was meant to live, not touching the lives I was meant to touch, not teaching our kids to go after their dreams and live their truth. We're going to all have fears. We all will. But make the biggest, loudest ones revolve around this: fear of what you'll miss out on if you don't go after your dreams. Do you have the guts to live full out? I most certainly know that you do. Okay, so the final words, I'm just going to talk about what I highlighted, and then we can talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about, any reflections on anything. So in the final words, a couple things I highlighted was, don't chase the accolades and the recognition. Don't try to be the best, fastest, top earner, or biggest cheese. Try to be the best you. You try to be the best you can be every single day for you, your loved ones, and your team. There may not be a company title for that, but there is a life title, and it's a servant leader. And we've talked about that in The Carpenter. We talked about being a servant leader. All right. And the couple of things were, please remember that you're looking for people who see what you see and are willing to invest money to enjoy the benefits of your products and the possibility of your business. If you're discounting the proposition more than an occasional enticement, you're deluding yourself and all you have to offer. You're worth it. And so are your products and your business opportunity. Believe it, and everyone else will. And the last thing I highlighted was simply tell them that you don't expect them to buy your products or join your team, but you do expect them to support and respect you. Talking about close friends and family and things like that. So does anybody have anything they want to share? all those fears are so valid. I mean, like we have all felt a myriad of these fears over the years and in moments. And I remember specifically in my life, there were times, I remember one time I was asked to do something. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I remember going to the hallway and making a phone call to Eric. And I was just like, I'm terrified and they want me to do this. And he goes, well, you know what that means you need to do. And I was like, I got to do it. He's like, yeah, you got to do it. He's like, go do it. And I'm like, fine. That was before Tupperware.
The crazy part about you reading out all those fears is that I had them, but I didn't even realize that I had them. So you're reading them and I'm like, oh, yes. Wait, I've got that. Oh, yes. Wait. And it's like, that just made it a little more scary. I'm like, man, I was living in denial. Now I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Say the fear disappears.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. But it is, I mean, and that was something that has always struck me, like and I've talked about this before, that, you know, we used to get together as a region. The directors would get together as a region at our regional house in Michigan. And it was really powerful because we would do, you know, we would learn, we would have little breakout sessions. We would get to know other directors in the region. They would do recognition, all of this. And she did it quarterly. And I remember sitting there one time, and it was like in the first 6 months in the business. And there was a woman who was in our region, and her name was Gina. And she was the top, like she was always like top recruiter, top all this stuff, top team sales, all of it. And she just like, she was Italian, this big personality and just fun and funny and sassy. And she sat there one time and we sat down to like do our breakout session. And she's just like, I don't know, I guess we were supposed to talk about like one of the biggest challenges we're facing. And she's like, I can't get my team to call me back. And I'm like, you can't get your team to call you back? I was like, oh my gosh, she's the same problems I have. Like, to me, that was incredibly empowering. Some people would be like, oh my God, this is never going to end. If she can't get her people to call her back, I'm never going to get my people to go, right? Oh no, to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, we have the same problems. That means I could be where she is. And my team might never still call me back. You know, but it was so exciting to hear that somebody had the same problems that I had.
Who was that you were talking about?
Gina Raimondi. Yeah, she was a long time ago. She hasn't sold Tupperware in, I don't know, 8 years, maybe 10. Yeah, but she was the top dog. Like she was typically number one in the region. So it was between her and Loretta. Go back and forth.
And now look where you are.
So
that's
anybody
awesome.
else have anything they want to share? No? Well, this was exciting.
Great book.
It was. I really do. I really enjoy this book. And Lori's completely right. It's much easier to read on your own than to read in a book club. But the discussions for the book are nice, you know, and being able to kind of talk it through and look at it from different perspectives and such. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Good book. So yeah, so I'm excited for the 5-second rule. I'm super excited. There was somebody, and I don't remember who it was, that messaged me and said they were going to start on book club, but they wanted to wait. So we started the new book. And I don't remember who it was. And so I was like, yeah, we're starting next week.
Awesome.